had a few days to reflect on the season. Just how do you think? How satisfied were you with how it ended compared to what your expectations were when it started?
Well, my expectations at the beginning uh, were taking into consideration that we were without Clay and D'Angelo, so figured that what we had coming back, um, we had a chance if we stayed healthy to be pretty good. But that did not really happen. We started the year off with Abe Lodwick missing the first 10 or 11 games. Mike Ladd missed a number of games. And then when FaZe Layden went down midway through the season, I think he missed the last 17 or 18 games. It made for being able to compete on a consistent basis very difficult. And then at the end, when we were at Oregon State playing in the CBI with Brock Modem going down with an ankle sprain, that made it even more difficult, especially on the offensive end, to try to run some things that we had messed with for 5 months of how to score. And if he wasn't scoring, we were using him to go through or using him as a decoy to get other guys shots. So it made it difficult, but with all that said, it was a great season. From my standpoint, and the other coaches on the staff, we enjoyed this group of guys immensely. The attitudes were good, the effort was good. Even at the end when we didn't get a chance to go to the tournament we all talked about and dreamed about going to, we made the best of a situation. And it gave the seniors a chance to extend their careers, and they performed well right down to the last game. And it gave some other guys an opportunity to keep playing and receive valuable minutes that hopefully lead into next year. I thought it was really good for Mike Ladd. Mike, again, missed a number of games throughout the season, and yet the last 6 games he was able to remain healthy enough to get some quality minutes during that tournament.
Did he have to become a little bit of a different player when he came back from injury?
Mike Ladd?
Yeah.
Different in that we didn't count on him to put the ball on the floor. He became a little bit more of a catch and shoot guy, or catch, shot fake, and maybe 1 or 2 bounces. But we didn't utilize him as much in ball handling situations. And we really hope to be able to do that next year. He's proven in the past he's a good guard. He just had such an up and down season with injuries. It was hard for him, I think, to get into a groove.
Will he have surgery here pretty soon?
As of now, no. They don't think that they have to do that, but he won't be participating in any spring workouts over the next few weeks. We're just going to let him heal that thumb up, just like Brock. Let him heal his ankle up, and he has at least another week to go with healing the ankle to where he can run up and down the floor.
Do you are there any other injuries that need to be tended to besides those 2 guys in the off season?
Nothing real serious. Devontae Lacey has a wrist that's bothered him and a finger, but he will also, along with those 2, have a little bit of time off and probably not get back at it seriously until he comes back in the summer.
How did Devontae progress over the year? He started hot early. You had a couple good scoring games. Seemed to taper off a little bit, just because you kind of evaluate his freshman season.
I would agree with exactly what you just said. He started off really well. I think a little bit of an unknown commodity, and people really didn't know much about him. And then after he had a few games under his belt, people recognized that he was pretty good. There was a lot more attention paid to him. And then he went through a period of time during the Pac-12 season where he wasn't as strong a scorer as he was early in the year. And then late in the year, during this tournament, I thought he really picked it up again and played well, which says a lot because it's not easy to make a change like that midstream, and yet he did it.
what does he need to do during the off season to kind of take that next step next year?
I would say, first of all, he needs to work on his ball handling and become a better ball handler and a more efficient passer. Now, again, I can be pretty critical of guys. Doesn't matter. You know, if Michael Jordan was on the team, I'd find something wrong with him too. But Devontae Lacey's a good player. We are really excited about him. But there are a few things that he needs to work on, and those are two of them.
How much, might be hard to say now, the season just ended, but how much do you think you will rely on Royce Woolridge next year? How much does he factor into your plans?
That's hard to tell. It's a great question, and I have the same question in my mind. But I've been fooled before by guys that are redshirting. You just don't see day to day some of the mistakes that they might be making because you're focused so much on the guys that are playing. But Royce did a really good job this year. I loved his aggressive style of play, the tenacity he brings to the floor on both ends of the court. He can really shoot it, and he has great quickness. So we think he'll be a great addition to the program next year when he's playing. But I'm not, I've been fooled on that before with not really recognizing some of the kids' deficiencies. So I've learned not to get too excited until it's the season to play the game, and that'll be next fall.
I know Brock has at least mentioned that maybe there's the possibility of him considering pro leagues or something like that. I mean, well, what's the feeling you get from him on that?
Brock and I have exchanged text messages, but we have not really talked on the phone since we were in Pittsburgh because we actually came back on different flights. That was a crazy trip. But Brock and I are going to meet this afternoon after he has a HydroWorks workout at 1:15, and I will know more at that time, but I'm confident that Brock will be back in our program next year for a senior year that should be a very good one for him.
Is there anything he can do that, I mean, I know he obviously made a quantum leap this year, but is there anything he can do that to polish his game and maybe make him more attractive in the eyes of NBA scouts next year?
We feel as a staff that he can become stronger, have a stronger base, especially down low with his legs, and so he's not getting pushed as much. He's playing the game lower, and that takes leg strength. And then also continuing to develop his inside game. He's definitely a guy that can catch it, 15 feet out, bury the shot, get to the rim, even shoot the three. But he could be a little more multi-dimensional as a scorer if we could post him up a little bit more. But again, that's going to take strength and post reps.
Do you anticipate any defections or transfers or anything like that?
Not at this time. No, I don't foresee anybody leaving the program. Like I said, at this time.
Yeah.
I've only had a chance to meet with one guy so far out of our program, and the second one is Brock here in a few hours.
Do you think you'll be adding anyone?
There's a chance. Yeah, there's a chance.
All right, questions from the phone?
Sure. Just to follow up on that, Ken, but when you talk about adding someone, are you talking about a prep player or a possible transfer from another program?
Say a possible what player?
A possible transfer from another program, or are you referring more to like a prep player or a JC type that you could add?
Yeah, really either or. I mean, we're actually looking at a young man that would be transferring from another school, four-year school, and we are talking to a JC guy, another guy that's out of high school. So all the above is who we are talking with. But we like the group we have right now. We like what we have, and so it's going to have to be the exact fit if we were to add anybody else to the program.
update on Hugh Johnson and Richard Peters and where they're at, academically right now?
Yes, both of them are in the same situation they've been in for months. And at this point, at this time, neither one of them is eligible to play NCAA basketball. But either is anybody else that's still in high school because they haven't graduated yet.
Are you still confident they'll both get in?
I'm confident that it's going to be close. I know they're working hard and doing what they need to do.
Now, Ken, has neither one of them technically graduated from high school? That I know that was kind of an unusual situation at their Phoenix school.
Yeah, I don't think any seniors in high school right now have graduated. For most schools, that comes up, I think, early to mid-June.
Assuming that all four players are eligible, could you talk maybe a little about a rotation? I mean, obviously it's still very, very early.
Yeah, well, we would start with Reggie Moore. When I say start, in my mind, I would think Reggie Moore, Brock Modem, Devontae Lacey. Being that those three started a number of games this year, I would think those three would have a great chance of starting. And then there's a number of guys right behind them that would have a good opportunity. I think just like Brock surprising some people this year, there's a few kids in our program that could surprise some people next year. Dexter Kernick Drew is a real talent. He gets a little bigger and stronger and confident in his game. And I think he could be really good along with Patrick Simon. DJ Shelton showed signs too. DJ showed great signs where he was very effective in certain games. And we're excited about his growth as a player.
It seemed like this year that Reggie Moore really kind of developed into a true one, obviously helping facilitate the offense quite a bit. How do you feel about his development heading into his senior year now?
Well, Reggie and I just met last night, and I'm really proud of how Reggie handled the season. It's not easy to lead the conference in assists and be as effective as he was with his assist-turnover ratio. And then at the end of the season, he needed to really provide points for us. And so not only was he distributing the ball and continuing to get guys open with his passing, but he was valuable in breaking presses and also looking to score at a time when he wasn't really making shots. So he did a great job of driving it, getting to the free throw line, and providing points in that way. I think Reggie's developing into a really good all-around basketball player. And his next season, his last, it could be a special one.
And when you sort of look forward to that, how important is it to have a point guard that's a senior that's, essentially been starting for 3 or 4 years now that has a ton of experience in that role?
Well, that's why we brought him in. He's a young man that we felt could come here and play at least 3 years and hopefully 4 years for the Cougars. And once you get to your senior year, just like Abe Lodwick showed this year, and Marcus Capers a number of games, and even Charlie Enquist early in the year, there's something to be said about a senior that just feels confident in what he can do on the floor, and I think that's where Reggie will be next year.
Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome.
Speaking of Abe, how has his game evolved as a player over the course of his time there?
Well, I wasn't here his freshman year, so I can't really speak to that. And he also redshirted, I think, his first year. Is that right? But the last 3 years, I think with more time on the floor, it gave him a higher level of confidence to play. And his bread and butter offensive play is just being able to catch and shoot. And I say just, but he was pretty close to leading the conference in three-point field goal percentage. What happened in the last two games is Pitt did an outstanding job of switching and just never leaving him. And there were too many times I felt like we didn't have enough scores on the floor to spread them out to make them pay for staying close to him. And we had a hard time getting him shots. But he proved during the course of the year that he could really shoot the ball. And so I think our offense, the way it was set up with Brock and Reggie and Devontae and Marcus and other guys, it provided him a chance to pick and pop frequently, or just to get in an area, spot up, and see how his man helped or didn't help, which ended up being good shots for Abe.
And then, I mean, given that he's kind of showed that shooting ability, I mean, do you think he'll find a spot overseas, which is kind of what he wants?
I think he will. You know, he's also athletic. He's bouncy. I mean, there were a few times, especially at the end of the year, where he attacked the glass. I think one time back at Pittsburgh even, and just on a follow-up dunk like he had seen Marcus do so many times over the years. But Abe's athletic. He's strong. He can really stroke it. And he's the epitome of a team basketball player. He will do exactly what you want. He will try to do exactly what you want every possession. So there's always a role for a guy like that in the game in any country. And I could see him going overseas and having a good career.
Okay. And then the last question about Abe. I mean, how, he's kind of assumed a leadership role. I mean, how hard is that to replace? I mean, he's a 3-year captain.
It's very hard to replace. Him and Marcus Capers both provided good leadership this last year and last few years. It's hard to replace that because they're not only good basketball players and leaders on the court, but they're good leaders off the court. And so we will do the best we can to replace them, but they're hard to replace.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any more questions for Coach Bone? Okay.
I'll throw one out. Hey, Ken, Bud Withers here. Any thoughts on how the league might shape up next year? Do you see a better league?
Wow, Bud. That's a great question. I really haven't thought about it too much. I just find it hard to believe that we won't be better next year as a conference. And I really hope that we are able as a conference to play some of those early games on our home courts or neutral courts where we have some success, and I believe we will.
All right, is that it? All right, thank you guys.
Karen, you had said at the start of the season that you'd wait till the end of the year to give a scholarship to one of the walk-ons. What's that situation?
Well, we gave one to Will DiOrio back at Christmas time.
Okay. And all the walk-ons, you expect all of them to stay with the program?
At this point, I've not had a chance to meet with anybody on the team with the exception of Reggie Moore. Met with him last night. And so until I have those meetings, I really don't know. But I don't foresee anybody leaving the program at this time. And I would hope that all the guys are back.
With Will, was that just promised for this year, or is that moving forward too?
That was promised for this year.
No decision made on whether it'll continue through next season?
We just have to wait and see what happens this spring.
How does that work, Ken? This is the first we heard of it, I guess. Does that retroactive scholarship, I mean, did it cover this entire school year?
No. At Christmas time, we had an extra scholarship going into this season, and we waited until Christmas time to see if there might be a transfer.
This meeting is scheduled to end in 10 minutes.
So we waited till Christmas time just to see if there might be a transfer out there that would be a good fit. And there was nobody that fit what we were looking for at that time. And so we gave Will DiOrio the scholarship for the second semester.
I see.
Any more questions?
Again, another one from me. On Woolridge is a player that a lot of us haven't really had a chance to see, not seeing practice. Is he a combo guard, or exactly how would you describe him?
Yeah, he's a combo guard. He's a good ball handler with great quickness. He can shoot with good range, and he's a quick, pesky defender. Probably 6'1", and a good strong body. Not really a true point, but I guess there's not really too many true points out there anymore. But he's really not a true point guard, yet he could play the point in our system, I think, just fine.
Thank you.
Do you see him being Reggie's first backup at the point next season at this point, Ken?
I could see them playing together too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, but if Reggie's taking a breather at this point, is he the guy you see being the first backup point guard? Or
Yeah. Yeah, Devontae or Royce, one of those two would be the backup point for Reggie at this time.
Oh, and also, Ken, the way you're talking about talking with Brock this afternoon, do you think you'll get a firm decision from him this afternoon, whether he's coming back or not?
Yes, I believe it'll be a firm decision.